It is early morning and the alarm just went off. Your eyes are still heavy, the room is quiet, and your body feels like it is running on empty. For the last 7 or 8 hours, you did not eat a single bite or drink a single drop of water. Your body has been working quietly through the night, and now it is waking up with you, waiting for its first instruction of the day. Most people reach for their phone first, scrolling through notifications before their feet even touch the floor. Others head straight for the coffee machine, chasing that familiar jolt of energy. But here is a question worth pausing on for a moment. What does your body actually need first thing in the morning? Not what you crave, not what feels comforting, but what your body is biologically asking for after hours of rest. The answer might surprise you, because it is far simpler than most people assume. It has nothing to do with expensive supplements or complicated routines. It is something ancient, something your ancestors relied on long before coffee ever existed, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why it matters. You have probably seen it before, somewhere on social media. A person standing in their kitchen, mixing a pinch of salt into a glass of water, claiming it will transform your energy, your digestion, and your entire day. The trend spread fast, and millions of people started trying it without really knowing why it works, or if it even does. Influencers throw around words like electrolytes and adrenal support, but rarely explain the actual science behind the claim. That gap between trend and truth is exactly what we are going to close today. This video is not about chasing another wellness fad or jumping on a viral bandwagon. It is about understanding what is actually happening inside your body every single night while you sleep, and why that understanding changes how you should approach your first drink of the day. We are going to walk through real physiology, real hormones, and real research, so that by the end, you are not just following a trend blindly. You will know exactly why it makes sense, and just as importantly, when it does not. Let us start with what happens while you sleep, because this is where the whole story begins. Even though you are lying still for hours, your body never actually stops working. You continue to breathe throughout the night, and every single breath releases a small amount of water vapor into the air. Your skin also loses moisture continuously, even if you are not visibly sweating. And your metabolism keeps running in the background, breaking down energy and producing waste that needs to be processed. All of this steadily drains your body's water reserves while you sleep. Alongside that water loss, your body is also losing electrolytes, and this part often gets overlooked. Electrolytes are minerals like sodium, potassium, and magnesium that carry electrical signals throughout your body, allowing your muscles to contract and your nerves to communicate. Among these, sodium plays one of the most central roles because it directly controls how much fluid stays inside your blood vessels and cells. When sodium levels shift overnight, your body's entire fluid balance shifts along with it, even while you are fast asleep and completely unaware of it happening. By the time morning arrives, your body has quietly lost both water and sodium for several hours straight, with no replacement coming in from food or drink. This is why you wake up in a state of mild dehydration, even if you feel perfectly fine and rested. Your blood volume is slightly lower than it was before you fell asleep, and your sodium levels have shifted just enough to affect how efficiently your cells are functioning. This is not something dramatic or dangerous, but it is a real physiological state that your body is trying to correct the moment you open your eyes. Now let us talk about the hormones that are already working before you even sit up in bed. One of the most important is called the cortisol awakening response, a natural surge of cortisol that happens right around the time you wake up. Contrary to its reputation as simply a stress hormone, cortisol actually plays a healthy and necessary role here, helping to raise your blood pressure, sharpen your alertness, and mobilize energy so you can function through the morning. This surge is not something you control consciously. It happens automatically as part of your body's internal clock. Alongside cortisol, another hormone called aldosterone is also active during this window, and its job is directly connected to sodium. Aldosterone signals to your kidneys to hold on to sodium and release potassium, helping to stabilize your blood pressure after a night of fluid loss. Your kidneys have essentially been managing this delicate balancing act all night long, adjusting how much sodium and water to conserve based on what your body needs moment to moment. This is a finely tuned system, refined over thousands of years of human evolution, quietly protecting you while you sleep. When you put these pieces together, a clearer picture starts to emerge. Your body wakes up mildly dehydrated, with shifted sodium levels, while cortisol and aldosterone are actively working to restore balance. This is precisely why what you choose to drink first thing in the morning genuinely matters. Your first drink is not just a routine habit, it is an opportunity to either support this natural process or work against it, depending on what you put into your body. This brings us to coffee, the drink so many people reach for the moment they wake up. There is nothing inherently wrong with coffee, and plenty of research supports its benefits when consumed at the right time. However, caffeine does have a mild diuretic effect, meaning it can increase how much fluid and sodium your kidneys release through urine. When you are already starting the day slightly dehydrated, drinking coffee immediately can nudge that dehydration a little further before your body has had any chance to rehydrate. First, this does not make coffee your enemy, and nobody is suggesting you give it up entirely. The issue is really about timing rather than the drink itself. If your very first liquid of the day is coffee, you are asking your kidneys to process a mild diuretic while your body is already running on a fluid deficit from the night before. Giving your body proper hydration first allows your system to recover its balance before you add anything that works against it. So naturally, the next thought might be to simply drink a large glass of plain water first thing in the morning, and while that seems logical, there is more nuance to it than people realize. When you drink a significant amount of plain water without any sodium, you can temporarily dilute the sodium concentration in your bloodstream. Your body needs a certain concentration of sodium to function properly, and diluting it too quickly, especially on an already depleted system, can leave you feeling less hydrated rather than more, despite having just consumed water. This is where the concept of electrolyte balance becomes so important, a concept well understood in exercise science and sports hydration research. Athletes and endurance researchers have known for decades that water alone is not always the most effective way to rehydrate the body, particularly after significant fluid loss. Plain water passes through your system relatively quickly if there is nothing to help it stay where it is needed most. This growing body of research is exactly what leads us toward understanding why sodium plays such a critical role in effective hydration. The real science behind salt water and hydration comes down to something called sodium glucose transport, a mechanism your intestines use to absorb both water and nutrients efficiently. Sodium essentially acts as a vehicle, pulling water across the intestinal wall and into your bloodstream far more effectively than water traveling alone. This is not a theory or a wellness myth. It is a well-established physiological mechanism that has been studied and confirmed extensively over many decades of medical research around the world. In fact, this exact principle is the foundation behind oral rehydration solutions, developed and recommended by the World Health Organization to treat severe dehydration, particularly in cases of illnesses like cholera, where fluid loss can become life-threatening. These solutions combine precise ratios of salt, sugar, and water, because researchers discovered that this combination rehydrates the body significantly faster and more effectively than plain water alone. If sodium and water together can help save lives during severe dehydration, it makes perfect sense that a much smaller version of that same principle can support your ordinary morning hydration. Beyond hydration, salt also plays an essential role in digestion that many people never think about. The chloride portion of salt, sodium chloride to be precise, is a key ingredient your stomach uses to produce hydrochloric acid. This stomach acid is absolutely essential for breaking down proteins, activating digestive enzymes, and protecting your gut from harmful bacteria that might otherwise make you sick. Without adequate chloride, your stomach struggles to produce enough acid, which can lead to sluggish digestion and discomfort after meals. When you consume a small amount of salt in the morning, you are giving your digestive system the raw material it needs to prepare for the day ahead, before your first real meal even arrives. This connection between salt and digestion is often completely left out of the conversation. even though it is just as important as the hydration benefits we already discussed. Your stomach does not wait until lunchtime to start working. It begins preparing itself early, and having adequate sodium chloride available supports that process from the very start. Now let us address the elephant in the room, because many people have been conditioned to believe that salt is simply bad for you, something to avoid at all costs. This belief did not come from nowhere, and it is not entirely wrong either, but it is deeply misunderstood. The negative reputation around salt largely comes from processed and packaged foods, which are often loaded with far more sodium than any person actually needs, hidden inside sauces, snacks, and ready-made meals that most people consume without even realizing how much salt they contain. There is a significant difference between the excessive hidden sodium found in heavily processed food and the small, intentional amount of natural salt you might add to a glass of water in the morning. Your body actually requires sodium to function properly. It is not optional or a luxury nutrient. Sodium is essential for nerve signals to travel through your body correctly, for your muscles to contract when you need them to, for maintaining healthy blood pressure, and for regulating your overall blood volume. Demonizing salt entirely ignores just how essential it truly is to human survival. When we look at what research actually says about sodium, the picture becomes far more nuanced than most headlines suggest. Large population studies have consistently shown that both extremely low sodium intake and excessively high sodium intake are associated with increased health risks. This creates what researchers often describe as a U-shaped curve, where the healthiest outcomes tend to occur somewhere in the middle, not at either extreme. Moderation, rather than complete avoidance, appears to be what the actual science supports, even though moderation rarely makes for a dramatic headline. So what does a practical morning routine actually look like, based on everything we have just covered? The recommendation is refreshingly simple. Take around 300 to 500 milliliters of water, roughly the size of a standard glass or a bit more, and mix in about a quarter teaspoon of salt. Room temperature or slightly warm water tends to be gentler on your stomach first thing in the morning compared to ice-cold water, which can sometimes cause discomfort on an empty stomach. The timing matters just as much as the ingredients themselves. Try to drink this mixture before your coffee, before your tea, and ideally before eating anything else. This gives your body the chance to rehydrate and rebalance its sodium levels first, supporting the natural work that cortisol and aldosterone are already doing, before you introduce caffeine or food into the equation. Think of it as laying the foundation before building anything else on top of it. If plain salt water is not particularly appealing to you, there are other ways to achieve a similar effect. One popular method is called soul water, which involves fully dissolving salt into water until the solution becomes completely saturated, meaning no more salt can dissolve into it. A small amount of this concentrated solution is then added to a glass of regular water each morning. Functionally, soul water works in essentially the same way as regular salt water. It simply offers a slightly different preparation method for people who prefer a more measured, concentrated approach. Of course, this practice is not universally suitable for everyone, and it is important to be honest about that. People who have high blood pressure need to be particularly cautious, since additional sodium can potentially affect their blood pressure management. Those living with kidney disease should also avoid this practice, because their kidneys may not be able to regulate sodium as efficiently as a healthy person's kidneys can. Individuals with heart failure, or anyone who has been placed on a doctor-recommended sodium-restricted diet, should not add extra salt to their routine without medical guidance. If any of these situations apply to you, or if you are simply uncertain about your own health status, speaking with a physician before starting this practice is always the responsible choice. No wellness routine, no matter how well supported by research, should ever override personalized medical advice from someone who actually understands your specific health history. Your doctor can tell you definitively whether this small addition to your morning is appropriate for your particular circumstances. For the vast majority of healthy individuals, however, there is genuinely no need to worry about a small amount of salt causing harm. Your kidneys are remarkably sophisticated organs. constantly filtering your blood and adjusting how much sodium to keep or release based on your body's real-time needs. Every single day, your kidneys process and regulate significant amounts of sodium from the food and drinks you consume, and a quarter teaspoon added to water in the morning is a relatively small amount for a healthy system to manage. This natural regulation is exactly why healthy kidneys exist in the first place, to maintain balance even when your intake fluctuates from day to day. If you eat a saltier meal one day and a lighter one the next, your kidneys quietly adjust behind the scenes without you ever noticing. This built-in flexibility is part of why a small, intentional amount of salt in the morning is generally well tolerated by people without underlying kidney or cardiovascular conditions, especially when balanced against everything else consumed throughout the day. The real problem was never salt itself, but how modern diets have distorted our relationship with it. On one extreme, processed foods have flooded people's diets with hidden, excessive sodium nobody intended to consume. On the other extreme, decades of blanket warnings against salt have caused many people to develop an unnecessary fear of sodium, even in small, healthy amounts. Neither extreme serves your body well, and both distort what balanced sodium intake should actually look like. Your body was never designed to function on either extreme. It thrives on balance, on receiving the right nutrients in the right amounts at the right times, rather than either flooding itself with excess or starving itself of something essential. Understanding this distinction is what separates genuine, evidence-based wellness from both harmful excess and unnecessary fear, allowing you to make informed choices instead of simply reacting to whatever headline you saw most recently. So picture that same morning scene again, the alarm going off, the quiet room, your body waking up after hours without food or water, except this time you understand exactly what is happening inside you. You understand why your body feels the way it does, what your kidneys and hormones have been doing all night, and what your very first drink can do to support that process rather than work against it. Every single morning presents you with the same simple choice, and now you have the knowledge to make it intentionally. Hydrating intelligently does not require expensive products or complicated routines. It simply requires understanding what your body is actually asking for. Give it what it naturally needs, in the right amount, at the right time, and let the rest of your day build from that foundation. If this evidence-based approach helped you see your morning routine differently, follow along for more content like this, because your body deserves explanations rooted in real science, not just trends.